It's episode 1.
First episode.
Yeah, first episode. We're here. We've been podcasting for a bit, but we'll get into that in just a second. But my name is Tad, and with me is Peter, and we are here to talk all things geekery on this show. And like I said, this is episode 1. We've been working on this for... God, I was looking at some of the accounts. I think we created this in like the summer.
Yeah.
So this has been, we've had ideas for this for a while, but I think we've been cooking on it for probably a year, honestly, because coming down on the name came in about the summer, but I think we were talking about this for probably about a year. So this has been in the works for quite a while. So
yeah,
we're excited to be here. Hopefully everything's looking good on the chat side. Got a couple people in here, it looked like. So yeah, we're ready to go on episode 1. So first of all, we want to share the some of this stuff. So I don't have a website yet set up. I've basically spent the last week and a half getting everything ready for this, building all the slides and building like what the show's going to look like, getting all the stuff set up like YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. Website was the last thing, so I haven't done that yet. But you can find us over on Twitter at Geekery Abides. You can find us at Facebook. Search as Geekery Abides there as well. I actually haven't set up the Instagram yet. All right. I don't think, but I'll get that set. We have it reserved and stuff, but I don't think I've put the pictures up and stuff for everything. But yeah, we're here. Geekery Abides. Find us on all those places. Also, very uniquely, if you followed us from the other show, Dark Tower Palaver, we're actually doing something different with the emails for this show. Yeah. So we both actually are going to have our own individual emails because this show, the Dark Tower Palaver, has generally been all produced by me.
Mainly because what we do with Dark Tower Palaver, which is, for anyone who is coming to Geekery Abides outside of Dark Tower Palaver, that is a show encompassing the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, which is our... Can I say he's your favorite author? Am I allowed to say that?
Oh, yeah.
He's our favorite author.
Yeah.
We actually started podcasting because we were looking for a podcast topic that wasn't, Star Wars or football or something that we're interested in that wasn't super popular. So we started with, hey, how about the Dark Tower series? And it actually expanded a few years ago into the wider King universe. So with that, we have... a unique aspect of the show is that I keep my head in the sand.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to Stephen King. I don't subscribe to the Dark Tower subreddit. So like in 2017 when the movie came out, I knew nothing.
It was,
Tad was revealing everything. We had emergency episodes. I had to come over. In fact, we just had an emergency episode in last month where I had to come over for some breaking news. This show is going to be structured a little bit differently. I'm going to be driving. Tad's going to be the passenger a couple times.
On some. So we're going to alternate. Episode 1 it was my topic, choice. Episode 2 will be Peter's. And
so I get the evens, he gets the odds.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless something crazy happens. Obviously, we're not going to...
Call me odd?
You are odd.
Odd lane, maybe. Our odds lane. But yeah, so our emails, though, are different. So basically, we want to give you guys the options to where if you wanted to email just Peter and not me, or just me and not him. So basically, it's just our names at Geekery Abides. So Peter at Geekery Abides, Tad at Geekery Abides. That's the two emails.com.
I want to clarify one thing because I have seen this. That's Tad with 2 Ds.
Yes, I was going to say that as well.
Okay.
Tad is spelled T-A-D-D. I do see it in the chat. I see it in emails where it is spelled with just 1 D. That is something I've seen my whole life. I don't take it personal. But for the emails, yes, make sure you're spelling it T-A-D-D at geekeryabides.com. And Peter is spelled as you would spell it if you're anywhere other than Russia. So, because Russia, they...
No, I actually had someone question that once, and my wife was there, so she witnessed it. Is that P-E-A-T-A-R or something like that?
Usually in Russian, it's P-E-Y-T-E-R.
Like, yeah, my uncle was that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a Y in there. So, yes, but that's how you can email us. And we don't really have a shared one for this show, so it is just going to be a matter of pick one of us, send it to us.
Is it something that we want to surprise Tad with? Send it to me. If it's something you want to surprise me with, send it to Tad.
Yeah.
Also, our names are here on the screen.
On the screen if you're on the YouTube side.
If you're on the YouTube side, if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Ring the bell to get notifications. We also are planning stuff outside of just the podcast. potential just videos and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
if you want to ring the bell to get notifications.
I'll even throw out a teaser of
we do
one.
that.
I have not read or seen Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Peter has been haranguing me about that for years now. And my belief is you watch and then you read. That's the best way to appreciate things entirely. So the first thing we'll do is watch. And we discussed it recently that I don't know when, but at some point we'll probably end up doing a maybe watch along or something.
Instead of doing it on the podcast proper, we'll do here's the Sorcerer's Stone, watch through Tad and Peter, and then we'll watch the movie and post it.
Yeah.
I will say, this is the frustrating thing with Tad. One of the things in our friendship, if you look over his right shoulder, right there below that Pennywise doll, right there, one of those movies, is the Harry Potter collection. He owns them.
It's true. It's true. I do. So yeah, that is roughly our intro. If you followed Dark Tower Palaver long term, podcasts evolve. You can always come up with ideas of how you want to do things, but always as it progresses in the first little bit, you always kind of find new things or whatever. So we do expect this will evolve a tiny bit.
We're going to be like T1000 and changing the outer skin constantly, but the base of the show is going to stay the same.
Yes, indeed. So we got Carol, Lydia, Mike in the chat so far. So yes, Carol, OMG, we're doing Harry Potter. I'm already geeked out. Yes, because I've never seen any of it. So that all I know about is Sneetches. For obvious reasons.
Which is from the Dark Tower.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I know that. But yes, we will be doing that at some point, so that'll be fun. Because you are well delved into that whole universe.
I listen to Harry Potter probably once a year, once every 18 months. I just get the jonesing for it, and I will say, if you are going to read them after watching the films, if you decide to go that route,
yeah, for sure.
The audiobook is the way to go. Jim Dale is a delight when it comes to audiobooks. He is phenomenal at doing different characters. Even though he has one voice, he does different characters,
intonations
and everything like that. He's phenomenal at doing it.
All I know is Gary Oldman's there somewhere.
Gary Oldman is there. So that's true. But Lydia says Jim Dale is amazing. She actually just finished listening to the Harry Potter books. So Lydia's my wife. Everyone in the chat, she's autographed Sky. So we're going to start off with how this all came about, how podcasting started with us.
And so that's what I have first, and I think I've got a slide for it here. Or actually, I had the email thing. I forgot I had a slide for that. So email either of us directly at Peter or Tad at geekeryabides.com. Again, TADD. Sorry, I forgot I built a slide for that. But then the next portion here is intro to us as a duo. Yeah. So this whole episode, we'll get to the main topic in just a bit, but we figure this whole first episode is going to be introductory. But I try to come up with a creative way to go about that. But first off, we want to talk outside of even the main topic, our duo intro. So first off, I think if I remember right, it was 2002 that we met.
2001.
Was it 2001? I couldn't remember his sophomore or junior
year. I was 15 years old when I got my first job. I had a couple jobs before that. I worked at a Cub Scout camp here in Utah where we both live and grew up. It's a youth thing. If anyone's ever heard of the Boy Scouts, it's the youth below Boy Scouts. Worked there, mowed some lawns, kind of like that. But my first real job was at a grocery store called Jubilee, which is gone now. It's gone. It closed. And I started there, and on my second day, I met this man.
Okay. Sorry, I got confused in the chat here. Carol saying Josh was waiting in the Discord, but I guess he isn't here yet, so she's hoping he didn't miss it. But I did get it in the Discord, so hopefully he'll catch it. Cool. But yeah, so 2001, got our first. We both had our first jobs at this little grocery store. One of Peter's childhood friends worked there. I actually liked him a lot. He was probably one of my favorite people to work with. At that, I mean, there was weird. We were like younger, and there was like a group that was like seniors, so they were older than us. They like whatever, and then
we're talking like 50s, 60s, like people like above, at least above 40 that worked there, and then there was a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah, exactly. But it was different ages of teenagers.
Yeah.
But he was close to my age, so like whatever. We were both at the same position. But then he ended up having to quit for some reason, and one of the managers jokingly told him he needed to find his own replacement, and then he told Peter to apply. So that is how our paths crossed. That's
Yep.
the origin story of us, I guess, 22 years ago now.
22. This September will.
Oh, yeah,
it was
that's-
September when I
that's-
got the job because I was a sophomore in high school, and the reason why I got the job is because my parents would not buy me a cell phone.
Oh,
I wanted money so I could have a cell phone.
yeah, that's
Texting where you hit, A, you hit the 2 button 3 times to get a C in there, that kind of texting.
yeah.
Yeah, we're a little bit old. Not that old.
So yeah, we've been friends since. We worked together off and on over the years. And then in 2015, we started podcasting. Peter already kind of touched on that.
Yep.
We decided on Dark Tower as our outlet, which ended up kind of evolving into even a full coverage of Stephen King. So basically, with this show, what we kind of visualize is anything that's not Stephen King. The only caveat to that is I will say if it's something that Peter and I are not really into, I don't think we're going to spend time on it because I am generally a positive person.
Yeah.
I don't take a lot of joy in shitting on things, especially when it comes to art because a lot of it takes a lot of work and a lot of time
Yeah.
for people. So even if it comes out shitty or not to my liking, there's a lot of people that's put a lot of work into it. So I'm not really into like shitting on stuff as much as I can avoid it. I try to avoid it. So we're not going to get into like something if neither of us have zero interest in it. Now
Yeah.
we may be interested in looking into stuff that we've never seen before. But if there's stuff that we just kind of know is not our thing, we're not going to cover. But anything under the sun outside of that,
like the Harry Potter thing. I'm into it. Tad's not. He's going to give it a shot. That kind of stuff is, if it's for both of us are not into it, it doesn't mean that we won't like it.
Yeah.
I've introduced you to things. You've introduced me to a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that with the topic today. But definitely is something that we're not going to say, no, only things we like. No, we're not going to be like that. But that's why we have the emails. Send us an email with a suggestion. Hey, I think you guys would really dig this series or this video game or anything like that. So
yeah. So yeah, that's kind of that was the synopsis. I don't know if you wanted to tell your side of meeting me story.
Tad's terrible.
I know you.
Tad's terrible. I mean, literally, he's like a monster. He is horrible. He is deplorable. I'm the good guy. That's why I have the blue microphone. That's why I have the blue light. Tad has the red microphone. He has the red lights. He is a No, I'm just kidding. But do you want me to tell the story of when I first met you?
Seems like you would want to tell it.
I love telling it. I just don't know if you want to record it for all time.
Oh, I don't care.
So like I said, I met Tad my second day at the grocery store. So the first day he was off. And we were just like baggers.
Way off.
Huh?
Way off.
we were just like baggers. Like, so we bagged up people's groceries. We rounded up the carts, filled up the milk, cleaned up spills. That we didn't even check people out. Like, we weren't even cashiers. We were too young for that.
Yeah.
And I trained with someone on day 1, and then I came in day 2, and I'm still, again, first job and everything like that. Very religious upbringing and everything like that.
Sheltered.
Didn't swear, didn't drink caffeine, all that kind of stuff. Very, very sheltered. And the manager, who happened to be Tad's uncle working there, said, that's Tad down there, pointing, like we're in the back room. He's pointing all the way across the store. He's like, that's Tad down there throwing boxes away. Go introduce yourself. He's going to do your training today. Just shadow him and do what he says. And I went, okay. So I walked up, and my father raised me to introduce yourself. So
bright-eyed, bushy-tailed little Peter.
Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Peter, and I went to go extend my hand, and hi. Before I got like the first syllable out, he cuts me off and just goes, "What the fuck do you want?" What you have to understand about Tad's personality is he likes that shock value kind of thing. So seeing the look on my face of this goody two-shoe, like he said, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, kind of just to go. It was like a drug for him. He loves it. He still loves doing it.
Still
and everything
do.
like
Yes,
that. He still loves catching people off guard and shocking them. And so we connected over mutual things that we liked. Especially we both liked professional wrestling. We both liked
Star Wars.
We both liked Star Wars, but also this man introduced me to horror movies.
Yeah.
I thought Ghost in the Darkness was a horror movie. I hadn't seen a horror movie until I met him. So, yeah, it changed my life meeting him. And we're just best friends, and we've always had conversations all the time, working together, hanging out, going and getting food, going and seeing movies.
We've
and
been
everything,
podcasting for 22 years.
just without the microphones.
Yeah, we didn't actually buy microphones to put in front of us until 2015 in October. So
Mike puts in the chat, hashtag it's the manager's fault. We should tell your uncle that.
Indeed. So yeah, that's kind of the intro recap of kind of us or whatever. If you, it looks like so far we have everyone that's jumped over from the Dark Tower Palaver side, which so you guys maybe already know that. But I don't know how often we've actually talked
King
about
fan,
that.
Please go like and subscribe. Dark Tower Palaver. Check out our podcast. It's all about Stephen King stuff. So, but mostly Dark Tower. But yeah,
indeed. So next up. We got another short little thing here. What have you been watching, reading, and playing? Kind of just
so this is going to be an ongoing segment for us. It's just
check in.
What are you up to?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So for me, if I guess, no, you're first. Actually,
I'm first. Oh, I'm first.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go first.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go first.
Yeah.
So about 2 years ago, my lovely wife bought me my first gaming PC. I've been an Xbox gamer for.
Since I converted you.
That's actually a story that's safe for later in this episode, so you will hear that. But I started playing PC literally for one game. Like, literally, there was a game that was in development. They released a console version. It sucked. It was terrible. I still played the hell out of it because I loved the idea of the game. And then I'm just like, man, I really wish I could play the PC. And my wife, being awesome, surprised me early for my birthday and got me a gaming computer. I'm now a gaming PC gamer. That's the ins and outs. I don't think I'll ever buy another console unless something drastically changed in consoles going forward.
Yeah.
So about a month ago, Red Dead Redemption 2 went on sale.
Yeah.
And I have been murdering people and animals and doing bad things like I shouldn't do in Red Dead, because Tad's convinced me to give a dark side try. The worst part about it is I cannot get my honor to go down. I've tried everything, dude. I went in and I shot up Valentine and I didn't quit. I went in and massacred almost the entire town, and my honor is still above 50%. I'm like, golly.
Seems very Dark Tower of you.
I know, right? Just slaughter an entire town.
All right, so yeah, Red Dead. What about watching, reading, anything there? Or is it more
watching
just
The Last
playing?
of Us. I forgot about the episode last night. I need to watch that when I get home after this episode.
It's a banger.
Reading, I am currently listening to Hardcore History. Shout out to Dan Carlin. That podcast is amazing. I'm listening to his latest episode. He drops like 1 or 2 episodes a year.
Yeah.
Because they're like 5-6 hours long.
Yeah, they're basically like light audiobooks when they come out. They're not.
And he is so good at just telling history. And I love history. Tad loves history. So he turned me on to Hardcore History. It's one of the first podcasts I ever listened to. And I had a whole backlog of shows to go listen to. Now I'm like him. I'm waiting for the next one to come out.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I'm not really watching much. Just watching some old school wrestling that you turned me on to.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I mean, and this is ultimately just a minor check-in, just see where we're all at.
What about you?
So for me, changing the old slide there, got to remember that. So watching, I think the only main 3 things I'm watching right now, The Last of Us, watching that for sure. Poker Face, which we actually just talked about on Dark Tower Palaver, because Stephen King tweeted out about it and said, hey, watch this. It's an incredible show. Absolutely adore it so far. And I think it's about halfway done for the first season. I don't know if there's going to be multiple seasons or not. But then the other one I'm watching is 1923, which is one of the Yellowstone prequels. And it was the one with Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, which is an absolute delight watching those two. Yeah. And actually, Timothy Dalton showed up in it.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, one of the most sinister Bonds because of Hot Fuzz. As well as it has Braun from Game of Thrones.
I am a killer and it must be stopped. I'm a slasher and it must be stopped.
So good. But
I
no,
love Hot Fuzz.
This one
that is one we are definitely going to be talking about at some point on the show.
Oh yeah. In fact, there's some sound bites that probably need to come out of Hot Fuzz for sure.
Oh.
Some of them too. Reading. I think.
That's the something. I'm going to cover that after. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
And then reading-wise, I'm reading the book, The Deluge. I forget the name of the author. This was actually Stephen King hyped the hell out of this on Twitter. So I actually ended up pre-ordering it because it wasn't even out yet. It's by Stephen Malarkey, or Markley. Okay. I'm sorry, Markley. It looks like Malarkey. But it's Stephen Markley. And it's basically, it kind of feels like, it's a different author, so it's not Stephen King, but it kind of almost feels like a version of The Stand, but based on like global warming.
Oh, okay.
And it's just kind of an interesting. It's very broad. There's a lot of freaking characters. That's what makes me kind of reminds me of it. And I think that's what King even said when he was hyping it. Is he's like, it's like a modern day version of The Stand, but this one's real, is what he said.
So in this one, you say global warming. Do the polar ice caps melt and all the land disappears, so we become a water based society?
No,
it's
water,
not. No, water world.
No, God, don't even bring that up. But no, reading that, and I'm digging it so far. I think I've got like 15 or so hours left. So it's a long one too. It was 30 something hours.
Good Lord, that's good. That's a good size one there.
It was a hefty one. And then playing, I haven't played any games recently, but what I'm playing when I do turn it on is The Last of Us. Bought the new PS5 level remaster. Playing it for the first time. So
that comes out on March 1st or 3rd or something like that for the PC, and I'm just like, wish list. Wait for one of those Steam sales that just knows when to gut punch me and take my money.
Yeah, that's what always happens.
Steam's so bad at that too. Because they send you a message when it goes on sale and everything like that.
Stuff on your wish list is on sale.
Yeah, hey, your thing's on sale. And it's like, it's so funny because it's like, is it enough? Like how I ended up with Red Dead is Red Dead's $60 still.
Yeah, it went down to like $20.
It went down to $20, and I'm like, oh, that's the cheapest I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I bought GTA 5 too.
Yeah, when it goes down to $20, it's just like, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I'll buy that for $20.
Yeah.
Although I bought that game like 4 times now.
And you'll buy it a 5th.
No, that's it for me.
You're drawing the line.
Yeah, PS5. I mean, because I bought it on Xbox 360.
Good Lord,
was it? Because I bought it on one version,
Xbox
and
One,
Xbox One,
Xbox X.
Because then the whole Xbox One, it was released on there. The big thing was you could finally go first person. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's a huge thing. I'll buy it for that. And I was like, that's probably it for me. And I think I bought it. So this is probably the 3rd time. Because then this would be the next generation. So it's like, the $20, even still, bought it too many times. So next up, that is it for that segment. I guess I don't have a slide for it. So that's the main segment. So I'll back up. But news, just hit a couple quick news things before we dive into the big topic. A couple things nerdy-wise, Super Bowl trailers, allegedly, because there's no confirmation of what's going to be what. Quantumania comes out in less than a week.
We will be seeing it Thursday night.
Yep.
We always go and see Marvel movies together. There's Tad, myself, my wife Lydia, and then we usually have Hayden, and you'll hear us mention Hayden. He's a mutual friend, Tad.
Creator of the logo.
Yeah, shout out.
Yeah.
All the artwork that you see here, the one in my screen and the one in Tad's screen, and then the logo itself for Geekery Abides was created by Hayden.
The logos and the icons and stuff,
and he also did everything for Dark Tower Palaver as well. So fantastic artist. He's phenomenal. Good friend of both of ours, and like really good friend of yours. You guys do a ton of stuff together, vacations and stuff like that. Bachelor life, right?
Yes, indeed.
And so you'll hear us reference Hayden. Caden goes with us. We have a couple other friends as well that we'll usually, but it's usually that core group. We'll always go and see.
And not even just Marvel. There's some other ones that will hit.
Horror movies as well.
Which is the next one. Allegedly, Scream 6 has a trailer.
Ant-Man,
has a trailer potentially coming out for the Super Bowl. Creed 3 as well might have a trailer. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
Interested in that one. Maybe even Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 might have something for the Super Bowl.
When does that one come out? May?
It is May. I've got it 5th. May 5th.
So it is, dude, that's a perfect time for a trailer for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Woo!
So
I'm so excited for that one.
Yeah, that one should be a lot of fun. And then the less said for me on this one, the better, but Mario might have another trailer. And then Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 has not dropped any trailers yet.
The Dead Reckoning Part 1 and Part 2 are the final Mission Impossible is what they said, right?
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So, and then potentially 65, which I've seen one teaser for. It's like the Adam Driver lands on a planet, and it looks as though there's dinosaurs.
Right.
So that might be fun. So those are what we might be looking for tomorrow if we're watching the Super Bowl. If you are of the type to watch the Super Bowl, I mean, it's kind of a cultural event. I don't think even there's people that watch that aren't even football fans. They watch for the halftime show or the commercials, or
they just show up because of the food.
Exactly, which is
I'm all about.
That's the way to go. Next up, an interesting one. I haven't done a lot of reading into it, but headline-wise, apparently Amazon is developing a live-action show for Spider-Man Noir.
Really? The Noir Spider-Man?
Yeah, which was Nicolas Cage in the first Spider-Verse, which, I don't think it'll be Nicolas Cage. I don't think he's not in the next movie either.
He's not?
The next animated one. So, yeah, apparently they're developing a new Spider-Man Noir, which is weird because how does that work with Sony?
Sony owns the live-action rights, but not the...
This is live-action.
Oh, it's going to be... Wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, how are they going to do Noir live-action? Are they going to do, like, Sin City?
Maybe, yeah. Could be black and white.
Okay.
So very interesting. And then also big news in terms of just television in general. It sounds like Yellowstone is ending with the current season.
We're both fans of Yellowstone.
But there's also maybe a spinoff coming with Matthew McConaughey.
All right. Oh, there's a soundbite. So that's what I was going to say is that we do have some sound bites that we are going to be using.
Yeah, there might be some sound bites here and there. So that is the just quick hits of kind of news. And I honestly haven't been following the news as heavily recently. Again, I've been neck deep in getting this show ready to launch.
Yeah.
A lot of work involved in that. And I haven't launched a new show with this scale
8 years.
in a long time. I did try a solo podcast, but I didn't put as much work into that one. I don't know. Honestly, podcasting alone, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's some hard work there for sure. It's always good to have someone to bounce off of and torment. It's always good to have someone to jab with things.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
So the main topic is our Mount Rushmore that defines our geekery DNA or our geeky DNA. So basically, not necessarily like our all-time favorite things, but what are the things that are like foundational to who we are as geeks? Mount Rushmore, so that limits it down to 4. So,
which is a little bit tougher when you're making a, hey, define yourself.
Yeah, and that's where it becomes kind of an intro. Is like hopefully these can be things that kind of help speak to kind of who we are moving forward in this show. You'll learn a lot about us over time, certainly, but this is just kind of the intro stuff, and then we'll go through this, and we're going to alternate back and forth, starting with you, sir.
Starting with me.
So go ahead and change on over. Number 1 for you.
I'm just waiting for it to update.
Wait.
I love that you put Chewbacca on there for me. It's perfect because he is my all-time favorite Star Wars character.
And I'm not such a villain. One of my last Star Wars celebrations, I got Peter Mayhew.
We're going to talk about Chewbacca and how you're not a villain. Are we really going to talk about Chewbacca and how you're not a villain?
I got you Peter Mayhew.
I have stories about you and Chewbacca and how you're a villain. He absolutely did go to Orlando Celebration.
That was the last one that he
was
attended,
the last one
too,
he attended
before he passed away.
Before he passed away, unfortunately. Rest in peace, Peter Mayhew. I love that man. He did absolutely get me a signed picture of him.
Tried to do custom, like say Peter or something, but he wasn't doing.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
and I understand that. There's quite a few celebrities that won't do that and everything.
Yeah,
and actually, my wallet currently right now is a Chewbacca wallet.
Oh
yeah. That's absolutely it. But Star Wars for me, how it started off.
Mike says first tangent. Will there be an email jingle?
We'll see about that. So. Stop it. Don't push buttons.
Making you nervous?
Yes,
Go on.
A little bit. Star Wars started off as like my first fandom. It is the first thing that I ever became a fan of. We're talking like my earliest memories of was liking Star Wars. Mm-hmm. I was born in 1985. You were born in 1985. We did not experience the original Star Wars in theaters.
No, and it was dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like up until like I think it was 93 or 4 when they restarted like the merchandising and they put them out on VHS again. It was a dead zone that we were born into.
Yeah.
Star Wars, what it looks like today, kids, I don't think younger people would understand what it was like then. Like I remember getting made fun of on the playgrounds for it and stuff. Like it wasn't as like culturally ubiquitous as it is today. It kind of just died after 83. Lucas let it kind of rescind. Mm-hmm. He went and did some other stuff, and it wasn't until the whole merchandising boom and like they refreshed the VHSs in like 93 or 4 that really launched it back into kind of.
And then obviously we have the prequels coming out in the late 90s. We got the remastered ones in 97.
Yeah.
And everything. But I watched Star Wars. I wore out 2, 3, 4 copies of A New Hope. It is my favorite Star Wars. I'll say that right off the bat. First episode, I will say my favorite Star Wars is A New Hope, and it still is over everything that's come out. that includes series.
Oh, okay.
Everything. Star Wars comes back to A New Hope. It is the greatest. The reason why I loved A New Hope so much is my dad served in the military. He fought in Vietnam and was a fighter pilot flying off of aircraft carriers. And when I was very little, I'd build me a cockpit. I'd have Lego, like Duplo blocks. I didn't have Legos. I'd have Duplo blocks that were the handles and the joystick and everything like that. I'd sit on the front room floor. I'd have it between my legs, and I'd have my throttle on my left side, and I'd do the trench run with Luke. And I'd rewind it, and I'd do it again. I'd rewind it, and I'd do it again. I wore out tapes doing this. I loved the movies. Empire Strikes Back scared the dickens out of me. You have very evil Vader. Wampas.
Yeah.
Everything. Even the
Ugnaughts.
The Ugnaughts didn't scare me. I wasn't scared of. I wasn't scared of little, like, old looking dudes. Little
pig faced.
What scared me though was lizard bounty hunters. And no disintegration, and spy droids. Not spy
probe droids.
Probe droids.
Yeah.
That probe droid.
Really?
Dude, his arms on there look like he could do some work on me. And no, thank you.
Interesting.
So, I did not care for Empire Strikes Back. I adored Return of the Jedi because the good guys win, and I was always a fan of the good guys. Watching the Death Star go boom, Vader's redemption, and everything like that. But it always came back to A New Hope. And it stayed with me. I'm still a Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars. Is it one of my top fandoms now? That's a question for another day.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on anymore.
That's a question for another day, I think, for that. But that is like the main pillar because that's my first fandom.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I liked, the first thing I was obsessed with. I remember learning that what goes into a lightsaber and all that kind of stuff that came later with all the mythos and everything like that. I read the expanded universe in junior high and high school and everything like that. I've read some Star Wars even before I met you and found out that you were a Star Wars and it was okay to like Star Wars. Like he said, it was a black spot for it, but even into the prequels, like there were still people who were like, you went and saw The Phantom Menace? What are you, a nerd? Like it was shunned to be a nerd and be geekery, kind of thing.
A bit,
so,
yeah. Not as much in then as it was in like the early 90s.
It got a little bit more accepted, but it was still, when you look at what age we were in 1999, kids are harsh.
Oh yeah, no, certainly.
So that's my main column. That's my foundation.
Yeah. Okay, so is that any more you want to dive into?
No, that's going to be it.
Mostly, okay.
Yeah, that's Star Wars for me.
Okay, so for me, Star Wars #1. Now, I will say, mine are not in order, because there is a little bit here that's whatever. All of it goes back to my childhood, but it's not necessarily that Star Wars was first for me.
Yeah.
I did have some stuff earlier. I was a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. That was probably my favorite thing. But I didn't actually make that one on the list because I was just all about, like, I love the cartoon. I had all the toys, went and saw the movies, but I wasn't, like, diving into, like, the mythology or anything. Like, it was just, like, something I loved. Getting really geeky wasn't until Star Wars. I was probably about 5. My parents divorced when I don't remember what age I was, but my mom got married again. My stepdad, which anymore as we talk, it's always going to be, if I talk about my dad, it's my stepdad I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But he was a huge Star Wars fan. He was born in 70, so he was 6, 9, and 12 when the movies came out. I mean, dude, what age could you possibly be better for the original?
Yeah.
Those are literally the best ages to hit all of those movies. So he obviously grew up super nerdy about it. And I remember I was like 5. We were living in an apartment, and I was over in like the little playground area with my little brother. We were just like whatever. And I remember him calling us in, and he's like, "Hey, you guys want to watch a movie?" And I was just like, "No, adult movies are stupid." Because like in my mind, what I love now, like dramas and stuff, as a kid I interpreted all adult movies was boring shit where people stood around and talked. There's nothing blowing up. Nobody was being punched. It was always just boring shit.
There was no gunfights.
Yeah, nothing. It was just, no, screw that. And I just assumed all adults watch crappy movies like that. So I said, no, not interested. And he's like, well, no, this one's got like spaceships and blasters. And I'm like, you have my attention.
You have my attention.
And then, over the course of that, whatever, I think it was in the summer. So, over the course of the next couple days, watched all 3 movies. And yes, life was absolutely changed. I remember wearing out tapes as well. I wore out New Hope on the lightsaber duel, though. I was always a lightsaber guy.
Yeah.
So even though that is the least duel of the original trilogy,
Right.
It is still one that I watched quite a bit because it was just awesome. But Empire is always my favorite. I always loved the snow was my favorite thing because we had snow around here, and I just loved that. Loved the walkers. That whole battle's just amazing.
Yeah.
I obviously
you go out in the middle of winter here in Utah back then and recreate it with your action
and that's
figures
what I
in
did.
the snow. Yeah,
that's what I did for sure. I loved like the Wampas. I loved the duel is one of my favorite duels. Still one of my favorites.
I forgot how much you love the Wampas. Like
Wampas are awesome. Love that. And then Return of the Jedi. I loved Jabba the Hutt. Still probably one of my top 5 Star Wars characters. I love Jabba the Hutt. I love that whole first 20 some odd minutes of that movie. Palpatine is awesome. Just so. Whatever, you just keep working your way up.
Do it
in terms of evil and stuff.
That's a soundbite.
So it was just a huge thing for me. Wore out all the tapes multiple times. My big thing I remember was then in '97 they remastered them. And they were released in theaters for very short runs. And I went opening night to all 3 of those. And it was incredible because, yes, they had made some changes to them. But it was funny because I knew every fucking pixel of those movies to the point where even the minor things. Like, they added, a new layer of slime on Jabba the Hutt with, computer effects. And, I recognized it. I'm like, he's got more stuff on his face. It was just something as minute as that. I probably couldn't point it out now. But at the time I could. And all of them, opening night, it was just incredible. The weird atmosphere of all the nerds around and stuff. The collective thing was just something I fell in love with at that time. You'll know if you listen to the Plywood Tad I had shortly, the short show I had on my own. That movies are one of my big things. That's probably my biggest thing. And that all started with Star Wars. I wasn't real. I mean, I'm sure I watched movies before that, but I didn't love movies until Star Wars. Watched all those in theaters. I remember loving the collective experience. That's still why on big geeky movies, a lot of times I'll go to a movie 2 or 3 times opening weekend because I love that shared experience of a big movie that people are really into. And then, I mean, just collected all the toys when they started coming out in the 90s. I just love all things that was just one of my all-time favorite things.
I mean, you can see Baby Yoda. There's 2 of them behind him.
Yes. I've got a Boba Fett tattoo. The
Bantha skull.
Yeah. Indeed. Not that they call it that anymore, but yes.
The Mandalorian symbol.
Yes.
I mean,
just above, outside of my camera range, there's all kinds of Star Wars toys up on the top of my shelf. Love Star Wars. It's just incredible. I mean, we could speak to a little bit more. I'll just say that also it's one of the things that we bonded over because obviously we met right in the middle of the prequel era. I don't think we didn't go see episode 2 together.
Yes, we did.
I don't remember.
Yes, we did. We went and saw it in the summer of 2002.
I don't remember.
We went and saw episode 2, and you know what's funny is
I guess that makes sense.
We absolutely did go see episode 2.
But episode 1 certainly not.
Episode 1 we did not see together. I honestly didn't think that I saw episode 1 in theaters for the longest time. My wife was cleaning out a closet today, by chance, and found a movie ticket that showed that I went to episode 1 in theaters. I did not know that I went and saw it in theaters. And I thought I missed it in theaters. But the big story with Star Wars is what Tad and I did for episode 3.
Well, one pause, I will say, just to answer back to your Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
So whereas you weren't sure, it is still my champion.
How many times, Tad, did you see Phantom Menace in theaters? Because our Dark Tower fans are going to love this.
Here's the thing that, first of all, I'll say is I do not count dollar theaters. I have always been slightly a snob. I hated dollar theaters. The lighting was not good. The screens were never bright enough. Sticky ass floors.
The sound
they
was
always
terrible.
had that stupid curved thing where the middle seats were lower, but the front seats were higher. Everything about dollar theaters I hate. So I've probably been to, probably count on both my hands how many times I've been to a dollar theater in my life. So this is only major theaters. The other thing I'll preface and say, Phantom Menace is in theaters for a long time. Way longer than they do nowadays.
Well, I think the only thing that rivals it is anything like Avatar that was in theaters for so long and then came back. But even then, how many times did you see Phantom Menace, Tad?
I ended up seeing it 19 times.
Yes, you did.
It is my
my
absolute champion. of how many times I saw a movie in theaters is that. Number 2 is actually The Force Awakens with 13. I ended up seeing that one 13 times. But no, I just love it. Again, I love the shared experience. I love also I remember that's the really thing that struck me in 97 was the theaters. Like I had never seen them on anything but a VHS on a small 20-something inch television. I mean, back in the 90s, you were rich if you had a big screen. Nobody had 50-something inch TVs unless you were rich. Those cost $4,000 or $5,000 in the 90s. So never saw anything bigger than a freaking 20-something inch TV. So suddenly, to be in a theater in 1997 watching a movie
Jabba the Hutt up on the screen.
Yeah, to see all these things I've seen multiple times, to finally see it in surround. I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Yeah.
Surround sound, giant screen. I knew every frame of it. I knew every line. But to see it in that way, it was suddenly like. And to this day, I still advocate. I think Star Wars, at least the original trilogy and maybe the prequel trilogy, I think those should be cycled into theaters every 5-10 years, because I think every kid should have the opportunity to see those in theaters.
I take my daughter to see them.
Yeah, that and then the other one is Jurassic Park. That one because that's a different that's a different experience in theaters than it is on a small screen. So those are kind of things. And then yes, getting to Revenge of the Sith, we got to 2005. George Lucas was saying he was done. This is it.
Yep.
Like there was always an idea that there could maybe be a sequel trilogy, but he was done. He didn't want to do it anymore. So this was going to be the last hurrah of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Again, totally in love with the shared experience, that opening thing. So Peter and I talked about it.
Yep.
And this is back in the day. There's no reserve seating.
Nope.
So you had to stand in line.
Yep.
Which is a big thing, obviously. With 2005, we were a year out of high school.
Yep.
It's like, dude, we got to hit this hard. So we
literally was almost a year to the day that we graduated high school, and we're like, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
We're going to do it, and we're not just going to go see the midnight showing.
No. So we got tickets for midnight showing, 12 noon, and then 7 p.m. So within the first 24 hours, you're going to see it 3 times.
3 times, one movie, 3 different atmospheres.
Yes.
The midnight showing was madness. They were the super nerds. And you got to understand, Tad and I will say nerds and geeks and stuff like that. We do not find that offensive.
It's a positive.
It is not an offensive term for us
No,
where
it's
we're
a
putting
positive.
someone down because of their likes.
No.
For us, it's a positive. But yeah, there was people waving lightsabers. There was people holding
Dressed
up
up.
action figures. There was people in costumes and everything like that. Shortly after this, me and you both designed our own costumes, bought our own lightsabers because we're like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
And everything. So
we end up seeing, and then what ended up happening before the day before the midnight showing, I'm like, at some point people start lining up. I want to get there early because we want good seats.
Yep.
So I'm like, but nobody's going to be there like 12 hours early.
Yep.
So I woke up at 10:30, and I'm like, I'll just mosey on by and drive by the theater and just scope it out. And I was texting you, letting you know. I drive by, to my horror, there's already a line.
Oh, no.
So I swung back home as quick as I could, grabbed some camping chairs and stuff, and I was probably back in line by like 11:30 a.m. So
with the midnight showing being when we're going
at midnight, yeah. So I ended up in line from that, and then after that movie, Peter and I got out of the theater, we went right outside to the next line for our noon showing, which had already started. There was a couple people.
Yep.
Got in that line, slept overnight outside the theater, and then after that one, went back out,
rinse and repeat.
Right back in the line, and then there we got sunburned to all hell because
my gosh, we were redder than your lights.
Yeah, I remember because I remember thinking when Anakin was burning alive, like, I know how you feel. Yeah, so we got scorched. Hit the 7 p.m. showing, and that was. Yeah, that was a big one there because again, you're never going to get an opening weekend of Star Wars again. In
that's
our
what we
minds,
were told.
So,
that's what we believed is that was it.
So
Lucas was done.
Yeah, so it's like we got to hit it, man.
And Lucas would never sell Star Wars. Why would he ever sell Star Wars?
That was
2005. We were just like, there's no way he does that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's mostly Star Wars for me. I will say too, not getting like too gushy or anything, but also it's probably the main thing that helped me and my dad get a relationship again. That was my stepdad. Just to help. It was a bridge between obviously kids and stepdads don't always get along, and we were very, very similar in styles. And one of my superpowers as a kid, my parents can attest to this, is if you had a button that would set you off, I knew what it was. And I would push it. I mean, I've obviously matured. I'm not a child anymore, but I would push those buttons, man. And there was like very, very heated things. And my parents are both younger than I am now.
Yes.
By the time my parents were my age, I was in high school, and I was obviously tame by that point. But so So
tame.
So Star Wars is a important thing emotionally as well, because it was a bridge between basically my dad. So I love it. Love Star Wars. Even if it's not the first, it's going to obviously, and all these things are very, very close in time period. Because it's funny to think, the other thing I thought about is Star Wars. I was like 5, so that's about the same time I watched Child's Play.
Yeah, it is.
So, like,
you had a very early introduction into horror movies.
Yes. So, but it's just interesting that all within that, like maybe a 12-month calendar, I was introduced to Star Wars, horror movies.
Who knows what else?
Yeah, who knows what else? Yeah. I love it though.
I will say, like I said before in my introduction to Tad when I've met him, that shock value I was talking about, the pushing the buttons thing goes in hand with that. He knows what gets under my skin. He knows what drives me nuts, and he does it.
Like Scott's Tots?
Exactly. He knows that I hate that episode, and I can't stand public embarrassment like that, so he likes to bring it up randomly to
and
stick the dagger in my heart.
Every time I find an Instagram Reels that's something
he sends it to me.
Heinously awkward.
Yeah, he sends it to me. The best is that we work together, and so I'm sitting there doing my work, and he comes walking out of his office, and he's like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "Oh no." He's like, "Yep, I sent you one." And then he watches me watch it because he loves. He like drinks in my reaction. He's just like, it feeds him. He's like a vampire,
like an outsider.
Yeah, like an outsider. Yeah.
All right. So next up, you have. Is it popping up for you? There's
Halo.
a little bit more of a delay than.
Yeah, because I'm watching live on. I got a computer here, and I'm watching live. I'm not.
I have to look at their settings. I think Dark Tower, I was able to find a spot where there's a setting for how little or great your delay is.
Oh, okay.
So I need to figure out if I can get that reduced a little bit. But yes, go on.
Yeah, Halo is my number 2. It's not. I put Star Wars first because it is my foundation. Yeah, like I said, it was my everything like that. All these other ones are adding on to it, but they are not in any particular order. So these other 3 are just the other parts of my geekery DNA. Halo is important to me. I already mentioned it. Tad actually mentioned it earlier. Because of him, I was introduced to Halo. My very first video game system, I already said it, I was raised in a very religious home. I wasn't allowed a video game system. I never had a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, an N64, a GameCube. I never had any of those. But I sold enough tickets to this thing here called Scoutorama. It's where the Boy Scouts go and do this whole thing. I sold enough tickets, and I won the most tickets sold in an area, and I won a PlayStation 2. My mom fought with my dad. They had a fight about whether or not I was going to keep it. She wanted me to sell it. Video games are evil. They cause violence, all that kind of stuff that the mid to late 90s were saying.
People still try to claim that.
Still to this day, it's still there. You're right. It's still a thing that it exists with that. So I was able to keep PlayStation 2. I played mostly a wrestling game because that's when I started to get into wrestling. I mostly played a wrestling game, and I played the earliest Maddens.
Yeah, which
were
bad.
They were bad. They were so bad. And then I played Twisted Metal.
Oh yeah, that was a great one.
I love Twisted Metal World.
They're making a movie of that.
Are they really?
They are. Yeah, it's in development right now.
Alrighty then. Okay, cars shooting each other.
I don't know how. I mean, the Fast franchise has made billions of dollars.
That's true.
And really, is there anything outside of like car things in that? I mean, I know there's like actual human stories there, but really, people are going there to watch them like magnet a fucking car that's like flying off a cliff and shit. So, Twisted Metal would be fine.
Let's do it. Yeah, we're all for it. But there was one other game that I played on there, and it was the Medal of Honor series. Specifically, I don't remember what it's called, but I think it's Medal of Honor 2 or like 2.5. It's where you play as a French resistance fighter during World War II. And I just remember thinking it was the greatest game of all time. I thought the graphics were outstanding. I thought the controls were amazing. I thought the story was awesome. It had a bonus level at the end where you fought Nazis that were zombies and zombie dogs and everything like that. And had no idea that's a ripoff. Had no idea that was taken from something else, kind of thing. And I met Tad. And I went over to Tad's house and I played Halo for the first time.
And I converted to Xbox before it even came out. There was like a bunch of articles written about it, and I fell in love with the whole premise behind the idea. And I was never the biggest fan of my PlayStation 2 anyway. But I was a first iteration Xbox person. So yeah.
So this is a little bit after the Xbox has come out. I ignored it. I had my PlayStation. I'm not going to convince my parents to buy me one. I'm in high school. I meet Tad. We start becoming friends. I go over to Tad's house one of the first times. We go to his room and we play Halo for the first time. I think we played the first 2 levels of the original Halo.
Sounds about right.
Which is the Pillar of Autumn and Halo. I can still name the levels.
Seems about where you'd start in the game is the first 2 levels.
We could have played multiplayer.
No, that's true, yeah.
But we played the first 2 levels, and that's where we stopped, and I had to go home.
That would have been very cruel of me to put on multiplayer and just absolutely wipe the floor with you because you hadn't played it before. That would have been
messed up.
Yeah, but go on.
So I convinced my older sister to take me to GameStop. I traded in like the 7 or 8 games, the 3 or 4 memory cards, the 4 controllers, my PlayStation 2. I traded it all in for an Xbox and a copy of Halo. That was it. That's the only game I had, and I played it nonstop.
Yeah.
We waited in line for Halo 2.
Yeah.
We waited in line for Halo 3.
Yep.
We waited in line for the Xbox 360 because Halo 3 was going to be on the 360.
Yep.
We both got Xbox Ones with the Master Chief Collection on it.
Yeah, we both went the bundle. That Thanksgiving night.
It was my birthday. Yeah. I had to drive.
We were at different Walmarts, though.
Because I was down by my in-laws. I was married at the time and everything like that.
We were like texting, like, I'm still in line.
I'm still in line.
Walmart
do they have it?
They were doing that thing where they were staggering the release rather than everything being like that moment at Black Friday morning.
Yeah.
They were staggering releases like different hours.
This one's going to be at 12. This one's going to be at 1. This one's going to be at 3. That kind of thing.
And the Xbox is like at 10 or something.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I remember I had to leave my in-laws' house and drive like 30, 40 miles to the Walmart, the closest Walmart, because they live down in the middle of central Utah where there is no Walmart in their town. They literally are one of those. They don't have a stoplight in their town. You literally drive through it on the highway, slow down, and then speed back up once you get to the other side.
So like a half-horse town?
Not even a 1-horse town, a half-horse town. And everything. So I had to drive to go get it. And my wife just put in the chat, she's absolutely right. We have a picture that we buckled it into the car because then it was a 3-hour drive home the next day.
Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
I buckled mine. I only had a 5-minute drive.
So
I'm not going to risk that thing.
Halo is the first time outside of for a video game that I got into the lore. I read books. I read
books,
looked stuff up online and everything like that.
Yeah.
We used to have LAN parties.
Yeah.
My high school girlfriend and me, you and your brother, it would be 2v2.
And there was that whole hacky sack group that we had come over to my place one time. We had 4 systems because I owned 2. I ended up buying a second Xbox. And then you brought yours and they brought one. And like we had a full-on 16-player.
Capture the flags and big team battles and stuff like that. All before gaming online was really a thing. That didn't really start till Halo 2.
It wasn't until Halo 2, yeah.
But Halo 2 came out. What did we do, Tad? 2-3 hours a night.
Oh, more than that, dude.
More than that?
I always tell people if you don't remember right, when we at that point we were both working full time and we would both work 8 hours a day.
Yep.
And then we would play 4 to 6 hours of Halo a night.
Yep.
And then everything else in our lives, sleep, eating, bathing, all that stuff was in the whatever was left of the day.
Yep.
8 hours, 6 or so hours, and then whatever else, just cram in that last little section.
We played. I still have the exact same gamer tag. I know you lost yours at one point and had to redo it.
I think I actually reverted back though because it got to the point where my original one expired enough where I could like get it again. So yeah.
But I still have the exact same gamer tag on Xbox that I did when I set it up in 2006, 7, somewhere around
wherever
there.
It was, yeah.
Whenever Halo 2 came out, because I didn't get Xbox Live right away. But then I convinced my parents that they gave it to me for Christmas. And I remember Christmas Day putting in the code and texting Tad, I got it. We got on Christmas Day. We were only able to play a little bit because family obligations and just,
all that crap, having to go to other people's houses.
I know.
You just want to stay home and play your Xbox, for God's
I
sake.
just want to play my Xbox. I just want to kill grunts. I want to kill people with Tad.
Just a simple man trying to make my way in the galaxy.
Exactly. You ever made yourself far enough to kill grunts? Perhaps.
Speaking of which,
you did put a grunt on there.
put a grunt.
Wow! I love grunts. They're so funny.
They are great, aren't
They're
they?
so stupid.
They are
stupid. I love that you can assassinate them in Reach. That's why Reach is one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
I did fall off from Halo. I haven't played 5 or Infinite.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever will. I might.
I think I will. I think it's just a matter of time. And I wanted to go replay everything before getting to those. But I think I have to at least try.
My wife just reminded me. Yeah, the yay where you pop a grunt in the head with a headshot
with the skull,
with confetti, and it makes a audible popping noise.
Yeah,
that was my text tone for like 3 years.
So I don't know how this is a thing. Well, Twisted Metal is now a TV series coming out this year on Peacock.
Is it really?
It is starring Anthony Mackie.
Oh, hey.
As well as Thomas Hayden Church, which is the guy from Tombstone. You're so drunk you can't see anything. In fact, you're probably seeing doubles right now. That guy.
I got 2 guns. One for each of you.
Will Arnett.
Batman.
What the hell is this? And Will Arnett is the voice of Sweet Tooth. And then Samoa Joe is Sweet Tooth. So I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. Anthony Mackie is John Doe. Thomas Hayden Church is Agent Stone. So it looks like there's going to be humans involved.
I mean, drivers of the cars, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Nev Campbell.
Oh, hey.
As well. So, yeah, that's...
one of the Scream Queens.
That's coming this year, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sorry, that was a tangent, of course. But
which is one of the things you'll have to bear in mind here on Geekery Origins is Tad and I are
addicted to tangents.
We are addicted
like
to
the Elmo meme. Us and then the tangents.
The subject we should be talking about, tangents. I'm gonna make that.
Yeah, we probably there will probably be memes. In the
memes
show.
galore. Yes.
So second for me again, not necessarily in order. But the next one for me, my number 2, is Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh, okay.
And so again, I know some people, Star Wars, Star Trek, that's a versus thing. No, I love it all. Like, grew up watching it live as it aired. I mean, I think it started in like 88 or 89. So I wasn't watching until a little bit into the later seasons, but like I remember waiting week to week on those. I remember the episode where Captain Picard gets assimilated by the Borg. That was the finale, and then you had the whole summer until the next episode. And I remember the unbearable weight of that. Went to all the movies in theaters when they hit. I remember eventually cycling back and watching the original trilogy or original series movies, but I never really watched the show. The show's a little bit too much. You could see the wires and the people holding the doors. It's a little bit too cheesy for me. But Next Generation, just grew up loving it, every aspect of it, and I think it really just helps define like Star Wars. I know people like to throw it down as a sci-fi. It's not sci-fi. Star Wars is fantasy. Star Wars is a fairy tale in space. Star Trek is actually science fiction, and like science fiction is a huge part of my love and fandom. And this is probably one of the best things to like show that is my love for it. I've rewatched it a few times. I've actually been thinking about a rewatch of it here pretty soon because I haven't watched it in, I don't know, 6 or 7 years.
Yeah,
and
about time. Yeah.
And Picard, the final season of Picard is about to start here in a week or so.
Oh, it's going to be the final one?
Final season, and it's all of the cast of the Next Generation is back.
Oh, really?
So, pretty excited.
LeVar Burton?
Yes, LeVar Burton, all of them. So, yes, first thing I ever went to convention-wise, and it's nothing like conventions are seen now. Like, this was like going to like a... small convention center, and they have those like coiled doors that they like close, like whatever. It was like the smallest section, and it was just probably like 30 or 40 tables of just a bunch of nerds with like comic books and just it was just. And I remember they gave us like a gift bag, and it was all just like junky stuff that nobody would ever pay for. But I remember that was the first thing I ever went to. It was like that, and I don't know how familiar you are with Next Generation.
Quite a bit. I watched it a lot with
Do you remember
my mom.
Hugh, the Borg that they end up finding that's like detached from the hive? We met him. Jonathan DeLarco is the guy's name. And that was like one of my first celebrity things. Not that he's even a, but he's done some stuff since though. Actually, I looked him up not too long ago.
What's Data's name? The actor?
Brett Spiner.
I didn't meet Brett Spiner, but I saw Brett Spiner.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because my wife and I have done a couple of Comic-Cons.
Yeah, the Comic Cons. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He came to Comic-Con and walked past him, and I'm like, hey, that's fucking Data. Look at that. That's Data. Kind of thing.
And Carol's right. Note we get to like everything. That's it. Generally speaking, I'm not into the whole like versus thing. Like, dude, because a lot of times things that are versus, it's because they're both really fucking good. They may be radically different. Like Star Trek and Star Wars are so different. I'm like, how do you even try to compare the two? Or Batman and Superman, for instance. Another one there where it's just like, you know, see, but yeah, Next Generation, loved it, just absolutely adored it. Watched reruns and stuff. But I have the Blu-ray set. I love the movies a ton. I was even just watching scenes from one of the movies like the other night. I was just because somebody remastered some scenes from Insurrection, which isn't even one of the good movies. It was mediocre, but like somebody I don't know if they were doing it studio wise or somebody, because now they're doing things where like people will just go and do it on their own, and they remastered elements of it in 4K, and I was just watching it just like, holy shit, dude,
it looks good.
And then I ended up going to a trivia thing. Here's a fun one. So they do Gilbert and Sullivan. There's like a musical reference in that movie about Gilbert and Sullivan. Patrick Stewart was, and I remember this a bit, they asked him on a talk show about Gilbert and Sullivan, because he's like, you know him, he's this stage actor, and he's this
phenomenal.
Whatever. They asked him, oh yeah, have you ever done Gilbert and Sullivan? Are you a big fan? He's like, you know, he's like, it's not bad. He's like, but I'm much more of a fan of Beavis and Butthead than Gilbert and Sullivan. And it's true, dude. That I learned that way back then. He is actually, even though he's like this prim and proper Englishman, he is like, he loves like South Park, Family Guy, Beavis and Butthead. He is just
he's in American Dad.
Yeah, then that's why, because he was a fan of Family Guy. So when they're like, hey, we're doing another show, he's like, oh, I want to be involved. Like, so which it just doesn't fit him.
No, that's definitely against the grain.
But yeah, no, so I love it. It was huge. I remember the finale when it aired and stuff. Just a huge part of my childhood, and just a foundational thing that, like, I love sci-fi. I watched like all kinds of stuff later on. Even today, like something sci-fi. We talked about 65 earlier.
Yeah.
You know, my main interest there is like, oh, cool, sci-fi thing with Adam Driver. Like,
you like stuff like Aliens is a big franchise that you like. You like Terminator.
Yeah.
You also like
Jurassic Park,
Predator,
is sci-fi.
Jurassic Park. All of those ones all of those franchises. You like all of those, and I think large part of it is that you love the sci-fi side of the stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, you were a huge fan of Dune.
Yeah, Dune.
Dune was a good one.
Stargate.
We got Dune 2 coming out.
Yeah, in the mid '90s, Stargate.
Oh, Stargate SG-1.
That.
Did you ever watch the show? I love the movie, but the show.
I actually bought the box set because somebody told me it was worth, or no, maybe I didn't. I bought the Battlestar Galactica, not SG-1. But I love the Stargate movie. Also, one of my other little favorite things I always picked up in Generations, the first Next Generation movie, it has Shatner in it too. There's a point when Picard's in like the thing that pulls him in, and it basically like puts him in like a heaven, like what their vision of heaven is. Yeah. And he's in this thing where he sees like his kid, and they're at Christmas because it's like showing him what his alternate life could have been. Yeah. Instead of being a captain, if he would have went and settled down, had a wife, kid, and stuff. His kids open the Christmas presents, and they're playing with it. Dude, one of the kids is playing with a toy that I had. It's a toy from Aliens.
Oh, no way.
It was a ship, and it had like this bubble thing on the back that you'd put the xenomorph in. The idea is like, you know, the Marines captured this xenomorph, and they didn't have the xenomorph in it, but the kid's playing with it. I'm like, that's an Aliens toy. Why is that in Star Trek? They don't have the movie Aliens. I'm not saying they don't have like alien like creatures, but the movie Aliens by James Cameron, like, they don't have that movie. Why does he have that toy? I have that toy. One of my favorite little nuggets there. But love Next Generation, one of my favorite things ever. So now jumping over to your number 3. So
Batman.
What?
No. Oh, did I put him in the wrong order on my list? That's my fault.
Oh, okay.
Stephen King. I just spoiled number 4. Sorry, guys. I mean, it's on my shirt, for crying out loud. No, Stephen King. So one of the things, like I already mentioned earlier, is that I didn't like or know horror movies. I also did not know or like horror books until I met Tad. I mean, we do a podcast now on Stephen King and the Dark Tower series, which is Stephen King's
Have been
magnum
for quite a
opus.
while too.
Have been doing it for 8 years this September, kind of thing. So
October, but yes, we recorded in September.
We recorded it in September. You released it in October. I still say September because that's when we recorded
and it was
the episode.
It was September 30th, for God's sake.
It was still September. All right.
Oh,
Kids born on December 31st are born that year, not the next year.
yeah, but the episode didn't get released. So.
Yeah, but the whole first year of their life is in the next year.
If the film is shot in November, December of whatever year, and
I
it comes
know,
out,
I get it, but I'm on this side of it. I'm not a fan, But yes, October. Sorry, October. But
I didn't know your wife would be here.
Oh, that's
The slide
sure.
is.
Oh, sure you didn't. Sure you
I
didn't.
really
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't know.
Pennywise there. Also, interesting choice. You chose Tim Curry, not Skarsgård.
Yeah, because
There's an ongoing thing on our Dark Tower one about which Pennywise is more prevalent.
I loved this one because it's a PNG. PNGs are ones that are like there's elements of them that are like see through, so they'll make it's like this. It actually looks like he's ripping through the screen.
Yeah.
Versus whatever. And when I went to a PNG site and just typed like
All the
Stephen
diff- all the
King,
different-
and one of the first things that came up was that I'm like, dude, that's
There it is.
amazing. Like, yeah,
But Tad's sneaky. Tad's evil. He's
cunning.
No, I wouldn't even call it cunning. You're just evil.
You make me sound like I'm like a lion on the Serengeti.
Oh yeah, he stalks his prey. He got me. I started reading very early on, like for fun. I mean, obviously I started reading early, but I started reading for fun. My mom took me to a store that used to be here in Utah called Media Play. It actually used to exist.
That was a national
Was that a
thing.
nationwide one?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was always just a Utah thing. Oh, anyways, I went to Media Play and they had books, movies, cassettes, because CDs weren't even a thing yet. And I remember finding this series called Animorphs, which is teenage kids who were able to morph from humans into animals, and they fought aliens. That led into Harry Potter, which came out in the later 90s. And I was just ready for...
But you couldn't read Goosebumps because they were the devil, right?
No,
Or did you not really ever
come
across them?
I could read Goosebumps.
Oh, your parents would let you?
They were school approved,
No.
kind of thing.
That was actually up for debate. Because when I got
Yeah.
older, right when I was getting to the point where I was about ready to move from Goosebumps to Stephen King, we tried to donate mine to my elementary, and they wouldn't take them.
Oh, really?
They said they weren't allowed to, or they wouldn't allow them to be in the library.
No, I
So
don't.
it was
remember-
very it was different. School to school, there was different interpretations because it was a big old thing. In
I didn't read
the
a
day.
ton of the early ones, mainly because I was a wuss. I got scared way too easy and had nightmares,
Yeah,
so I knew not to read them. But as I got to junior high, there was a series by R.L. Stine where it's a high school class, and each book in the series is different story from that high school class. But apparently, that high school class was like cursed or something. And in the front jacket, you had like a yearbook with pictures, and each book, people would die, and you'd have an X over their face, marking who died and everything like
see
that.
me as the yearbook. If I X someone out, it's just because I hated them.
But Animorphs into R.L. Stine into Harry Potter, I just kind of
Which would have been when those
Flounder?
books were coming out.
yeah,
right?
Harry Potter was when it was coming out. I just kind of floundered with reading because all the Harry Potters weren't out yet. I read 1 through 4 constantly, just over and over again.
Yeah.
My mom had to read them first to make sure they were okay.
I can't believe
Because there was that
It's
whole
just so
there was
alien
that
to me.
whole they're teaching your kids witchcraft
Yeah, yeah.
business with Harry Potter and everything. And I just remember being like, I like reading, but I don't know what to read. So I found an author called Dean Koontz. And I found one amazing book by him called Watcher. Loved it.
Yeah. Speaking of verses, that's another one that people do. Dean Koontz and Stephen King.
That's not a contest. It's Stephen King.
No, but people
I know.
make that like a Star Trek, Star
Yeah.
Wars, Coke and Pepsi thing, which I've never read him, so I don't know. But yeah,
But I was ripe for the picking, and Ted's like, "Oh, you ever read Stephen King?" And I'm like, "No,
Well, 'cause
he only writes horror books, and I don't like horror."
the main thing it was because it's so hard to find, even there, like in like that later year high school, people that read for pleasure.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, what do you have to read for school? There's a lot of people that's all they would read. So like suddenly that was another thing where it's like when I found out you actually read for pleasure, it's like, oh shit, that's just like me as well. We had a lot of things in common early
did.
on. And
The stars aligned for our friendship.
yes, for sure. And I was just like, oh, you actually enjoy reading. Well,
Yeah.
got some recommendations
And
for you.
he instantly knew that he wanted to get me into the Dark Tower series, because the Dark Tower series, to get into the Stephen King side of things, that's not really for the show, but just for this section. The Dark Tower is outside of the normal King. It is kind of he wrote it to be his Lord of the Rings series.
Yeah.
It's a journey. Someone's going from point A to point B. It takes 7 books to get there and everything like that. 7 books, Harry Potter, Dark Tower. There's a few series that have done this now. And so Tad knew that I wouldn't like the first book in the Dark Tower series. He knew. A lot of people struggle with it. My wife, who's here in the chat, struggled with the first book in the Stephen King, it's called Gunslinger, in the Dark Tower series. The reason why that is because King wrote it when he was a kid.
He wrote it like 17,
yeah,
I think.
He's a kid writing this book and everything like
that.
So it's kind of rough.
It's kind of rough, and also there's even some pretension to it. I think
is.
it's like slightly pretentious. Like
There
not
is.
hard, but it doesn't, like, if you read Stephen King and then you read that one, it feels so different.
It's so different than everything else he's read.
Yeah.
I mean, written.
Yeah.
And so he was smart, and he started me off with Salem's Lot. Not only burst the bubble that horror is bad, but also burst the bubble on Stephen King.
Yeah.
Loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. And it actually ended up escalating to the point where I went outside of Ted, and I just started going to Barnes & Noble and just buying everything that I could. I've told the story on the other show and everything like that. But one of the fondest memories I have with King is that I went and I found, Carrie, that's his first novel. I haven't read that. I should pick that up, and I'll pick up this other one as well. I'll probably read that one first. Carrie's small. It's a little tiny short story, kind of thing. I'm not going to read that. I like the big chunky novels. And I actually think I talked about it on yesterday with you. I think it was Tommy Knockers.
Oh,
which is the Stephen King book that I've hated the most.
yeah, that's not a popular one. I think even King said like he would probably make some changes if if he.
So I bought Tommy Knockers and Carrie at the same time, and I went home, and I think I reread the synopsis of it, and I'm like, Carrie's so famous, and I know that I'm eventually going to watch the movie. Tad's having me watch horror movies now and everything like that. I think I'm gonna read this one first. It's like 8:00 at night. I have school the next day. I stayed up the entire night reading that book. I started and I didn't stop. I went cover to cover. It's not the first time. It's not the only time I've done it, but it is the first time that I ever was just like, I can't put this down.
Yeah.
I can't stop.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then like a week later, I reread it again. I listened to the audiobook. I love the movies.
Yeah.
Both movies, even the newer of the two, the remake that a lot of people shun. I dig both of them. I think they're both great movies. The first one obviously is better.
Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore was fantastic.
Is a national treasure. I mean, she is just an absolute gem. Anything she's in, and to put her in the role of Carrie's mom.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that is just chef's kiss.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And so when Tad and I started working together, we worked together for high school, post-high school for a while, and then we went our separate ways. We each had different jobs, and then we came back together. Tad had a really good job at a really cool company, and he's like, hey, we're hiring. Are you interested? I'm like, hell yeah. And so we actually started working together. We worked night shift together, just the two of us in an office doing work in there. But we could have headphones, and I'm just constantly listening to music, and my wife can attest to this. Tad can attest to this. I am not a big music guy. I like music.
Another thing we share. I enjoy music, but I'm not like my brother's like a music fanatic.
Oh yeah, like goes to concerts. Is he doing the season pass for the concert thing? I was going to ask you about that.
I don't know.
That would be interesting to see.
He
if he
travels
because you do that with movies.
He'll go to other towns.
Yeah,
like where.
My wife is the one that's the music lover in the family for me, and I love movies. I love video games. I love reading and stuff like that. But music was just never. I was getting kind of fed up with it, and Ted's like, have you ever tried audiobooks? And I'm like, come on, dude. Audiobooks are like so expensive. And he's like, oh, well, there's this new thing from Amazon called Audible. Have you heard of it? I've been an Audible member since then. I literally looked it up the other day. It's like 2011 is when I became an Audible member or something like that. And I did the math today before this episode. 74 titles in my Audible, 26 of them. 48 of them are Stephen King. The others
Yeah.
are mix and match. I have that Dean Koontz book that I really liked. I have the seven Harry Potters.
Some history.
A lot of history stuff in
Yeah.
there. A couple things about serial killers because I'm a sicko who likes serial killers. So
Another thing we share.
we share. We both like the serial killers and everything like that. But yeah,
Probably not like. Fascinated by.
Fascinated. Yeah.
Like sounds wrong.
You're right. That does sound wrong when I'm talking about people who murdered other people and sometimes ate them.
Yeah.
You know. Ugh. But so Stephen King became my thing. I listen to audiobooks. I riding over in the car, I listen to an audiobook. Going home from Tad's house, I listen to an audiobook.
Yeah.
Driving to work, it's an audiobook. If I'm alone in the car, it's an audiobook. That's what I do.
Yeah.
If I'm with my wife and my daughter, who's 10, it's
Switch
music.
over music. Yeah, exactly.
It's music.
Same thing, yeah.
But when I'm by myself, man, throw on an audiobook. Let's do it. What are we listening to next? And so that's the reason why King's on here, is because it's that reading love. And this is my favorite thing from reading.
Yeah.
Is Stephen King.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. When I did see it, though, I'm like, oh, man, I'm surprised. Dude, this was hard for me. I probably could have done 2. Just, it was tough trying to build this list for me.
Well, the
overall.
tough one, this is the one that I talked to you about yesterday when we were talking about this. Oh, we hung out yesterday. And I was like, I don't know if I should do the first one or the one that really took me to another level. And so Animorphs and Harry Potter were my first loves of reading.
Yeah.
Like, I read the entire Animorphs series.
Yeah.
The ending books came out when I was like 18.
Yeah.
I'm an 18-year-old checking out like a 3rd grade reading level book. And I'm just like,
you gotta see how it finishes, right?
I'm like, don't judge me. And she's like, because she could tell which ones I was checking out. She's like, you never read the ending, did you, sweetheart? And I'm like, no. And she's like, I understand. She actually did call me out on it. And I was like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I had to know.
Yeah, I only read a few of those. I never got through.
I love Animorphs. I thought
not that it was bad. I was a
Yeah.
Goosebumps kind of guy. Scary stories to tell in the dark.
The thing with Goosebumps, the reason why I liked Animorphs more than Goosebumps is that Animorphs was a continuous story.
Yeah.
While each one had its own events for it. It was the same characters.
There was no
everything like
Goosebumps cinematic universe.
There was no Goosebumps cinematic universe. There is now, but there wasn't then.
Yeah. Are they tying them all together now?
They have 3 movies.
Well, I mean, in terms of like,
I don't know about
they're
the books.
individual things. Like, there's the
Yeah.
one with the ventriloquist puppet.
Yeah.
And the camera that kills people, and
Say cheese and die.
yeah, all that fun stuff.
Werewolf, the werewolf swamp one, scared the hell out of me. But that's because I'm scared of beasts. So.
Yeah. All right. So next up for me, number 3, and this one was Superman.
Was?
But then I remembered there is something else that is far greater, and in no way I could have overlooked it.
Oh, dude.
And it's The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I said earlier it's not chronological, because Simpsons, I was like 4, somewhere in there.
It was 4.
89 when the first episode
Yeah,
aired.
we turned 4 in the fall of '89, and it came out in December.
Yeah, and I remember watching that first season. I remember like, oh, next time on, Bart and Lisa are babysat. Like, I have clear memories of it. And I just remember it was early on it was Thursday nights, and it moved to Sunday nights. But like, I remember because my aunt and uncle would come over with 2 of my cousins who are a bit older than me, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years older than me, and we would watch it together because they were into it too. And I remember that up until I got my first job, at the grocery store, I was like a religious watcher of Simpsons. And the first, I don't know, 15, 16 seasons, like I can recite back and forth. I love it all. It defines my comedic tastes. I mean, there's a lot of writers and they all have different like styles and stuff, but like,
I love that you put Mole Man.
Absurd humor is one of my absolute favorites, and I attribute that to Simpsons. It's just some of the absurd shit they do. Like Mole Man, I mean, he's been killed more times than Kenny.
I was saying booers.
Yeah, he's only 31.
Yeah.
Alcohol
destroyed my life.
Yeah, we're both 6 years older than Hans Mole Man.
Oh, don't make me feel old, sir.
He also gets executed in the jail. You know, they come
Right.
to give him his last meal. He's like, "Can you execute people in their in a jail or something like that?"
My all-time favorite Hans moment. Not to cut in on your
Oh,
favorite.
for Mole Man,
It's-
I'll take it.
I don't know which Treehouse of Horror it is, but it's the one where it's like the spoof on the Terror at 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
There's something on the wing. But
Yeah.
Bart goes running up to Otto and he's like, "There's a gremlin on the side of the bus," and he, "Don't worry, Bart, dude." And it's Mole Man driving
a gremlin
car. And he's like, "Don't worry, Bart, dude." And he smashes him off the road, and he's like, "I just paid this off," and it
Yeah.
goes down and it like runs into a tree, and just explodes.
Yeah, I love I just everything about The Simpsons I love. Like I said, it defined a lot of my comedic things. Also, I'm of that generation. There's a lot of things that I saw in Simpsons first, and then saw what it was referencing later in life.
Yeah.
Things like Citizen Kane. I was like, oh, that's like this is like the Rosebud episode of Simpsons. Godfather, dude. When I got into Godfather, and it was one of my favorite movies. Now, when I first started watching it, like right after high school, dude, I was like, dude, there's so many Simpsons references. Like, there's one.
And then you realize it came out 10 years before.
Well, no, I knew that like Simpsons is riffing on it, but it was just like, to me, it was backwards. It's like, that's a Simpsons.
You were the Leonardo DiCaprio watching The Godfather.
Yeah, and it's just like there's probably dozens and dozens of examples of that, that's a very unique thing to like just like older millennials that have that experience where it's just like all these things that we learned Simpsons first, and later we learned the other side.
Oh, that's what that's referencing. You know, that kind of thing. You know.
Yeah, and and I'm still hitting him at times. There's still times I'll watch like a classic movie, I'm like, oh my god. That's The Simpsons.
Yeah.
That's where The Simpsons got it from. I thought it was just a funny joke.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. It's one of my favorite things. I actually do want at some point, I'm going to use Disney Plus and actually go through past where I've watched. I know a lot of people just shit on all the later seasons, but there's people that shit on later, quote unquote, later seasons. They'll like, oh, only 1 through 10 is good. But it's like, I know I've watched up through like 15 or 16, and there's maybe it's not as good as the classics, but there's still some good stuff in there. So like my goal is to go through and watch everything at some point, because I do love it. It's one of my favorite things.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you know me,
You have an entire shelf of your movies dedicated to Simpsons.
just Simpsons. Yeah,
Just the DVDs.
and that's only like 16 or so seasons. Like I think they stopped doing the DVDs, unfortunately. So
we do have to talk about your problem of movies here at some point on this show, because
I have no problem.
you have a problem.
No, sir. That is false. Yeah, I mean, Simpsons movie.
The Simpsons movie is so great.
All about it. I love it all. It's one of my favorite things. And you know me long enough. How many Simpsons references I make? People say shit in life. Like what I used to tell people is I quote Simpsons like some people quote the Bible.
Yep.
You know, like, and honestly, what you hear from me is edited. Because in my head, there's like 10 times where I'll be like, oh, that's a Simpsons reference. Oh, that's a Simpsons reference. And I'll only like speak like 2 of them. But like, you know, the other 8, I just keep to myself because I'm like, nobody else is as crazy about Simpsons as I am.
Yep.
So I'll self-edit a little bit there.
Oh, he does.
But
Also, he has like the monkey clinging in his head when it's Homer's supposed to be listening to Marge in the Simpson movie, puts the cymbals down and points.
Yeah. And it's crazy. When I started watching, Lisa was older than me.
Yeah.
And now I'm older than Homer.
Yeah.
And Hans Moleman.
Now just wait till we get older than Mr. Burns.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
He also adopted mannerisms from Simpsons characters. Like, for instance, he does this scheming fingers that Montgomery Burns. See, he's doing it right now. I don't
Mr.
like it.
Burns
I don't like it. It makes me nervous.
He's a great one. And I love Simpsons so much that like I'll also like break down like the actors where it's like, oh, what's your favorite Harry Shearer character? Which is Mr. Burns, of course. And it's just like that. I love it. It's one of my favorite things ever. And yeah.
And of course, I wasn't allowed to watch Simpsons because Bart was a bad influence on boys.
Yeah. If only people knew what was coming.
Oh, boy.
You know, South Park, Family Guy, all that stuff.
The adult cartoons that started showing up on what is it, Cartoon Network, I think.
Yeah.
Adult Swim, you know,
yeah,
that kind
exactly.
of stuff.
Yeah, but Simpsons, man.
My wife says she does the same thing with The Simpsons. Oh, that's what it's referencing.
Yeah, just it's a very unique thing for a certain age group because everyone older like, they knew what
They
the
saw
original thing
Godfather.
was, and then then you get younger people. Maybe younger people still experience it, but I don't know if Simpsons is as ubiquitous for like Gen Z as it was for us older millennials. So yeah, that is it. That's my number 3. So then number 2 or number 4 for you, which you already spoiled.
I spoiled. I mean, I'm wearing his shirt for
Yeah.
crying out loud. I am an unabashed Batman fan.
Yeah.
I am a member of the Bat family. I love it. I love everything about him. It goes back to before.
I thought about putting a crowbar on there, but
too soon. Poor Jason. But I remember when I was a kid. I remember the Michael Keaton Batman. It was the only it was the only superhero movie that was in my house.
Yeah.
My dad didn't like superheroes. He didn't like space, which is weird because he liked Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
But that's like someone from this time getting put forward kind of thing.
Yeah.
Didn't even like Planet of the Apes, any of that kind of stuff. He liked his action movies. He liked his Arnold. He liked his Sylvester Stallone. He liked his Bruce Willis. He liked his Mel Gibson movies, stuff like that. So to have Michael Keaton's Batman was unique.
Yeah.
And I just remember watching it in
with Porkins in there too.
Oh yeah. The Batwing.
Yeah.
Up into the moon.
Yeah.
And falling back down.
Oh yeah, Tim Burton, man.
Jack Nicholson scared the hell out of me as a little kid. But then the real kind of thing from my childhood, the animated series.
Oh yeah, the animated series was
Kevin Conroy. Oh.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. We just lost him just recently, unfortunately.
Yeah, indeed.
I love the animated series. I rewatched it just a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
In its entirety. I bought it when it came out on Blu-ray. Got the digital copy and everything. Rewatched it. But the big thing that happened with Batman is right after the animated series, I dropped off.
Like most of us did.
Like most of us did. We got older, got interested in other
Terrible
things.
movies happened.
Terrible movies happened with nips on Batman and everything.
And the Batman credit card.
Never leave the cave without it.
Oh my God.
Fuck off. The worst, though, for those movies is the putting the feet together and ice skates come out. Come on. Come on. I would have believed if he pulled something from his utility belt, but the bottom of his shoe. Come on. But Batman Begins came out. I hated it. You hated it.
Yeah.
It was a mutual thing for us. We were the minority.
Yeah.
That hated it.
Very big minority on that one.
Dark Knight came out. We both loved it. Thought it was great.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Rises came out. It was okay.
Yeah. You're kinder than
I'm kinder than Tad is. But what really happened was we already mentioned I was an Xbox gamer there for the longest time.
Yeah.
And I had this thing with the Xbox One where it's called Xbox Live Gold membership. Mm-hmm. And what happened is they gave 2 free games a month. One older and one newer kind of thing. One of the older games just happened to be Batman Arkham City. I knew nothing about this game. Got it for free. Left it sitting on my Xbox for months.
Yeah.
And then one day was bored, needed something to play, threw it on. I haven't stopped. I haven't stopped playing Batman since then.
Yeah.
The Arkham series games, there's officially 3.5 games. There's 4 games. 3 made by one studio, 1 made by a separate studio that ties into those 3 games. It's the origin. It's like a prequel kind of thing. But Kevin Conroy from the animated series voices Batman. Mark Hamill voices Joker.
Yeah. See?
And everything.
Said he wouldn't turn to the dark side. Then
He wouldn't turn to the dark side and then immediately became one of the most heinous villains of all time. But the Arkham City game was so good. I played it. I played the new game plus. Thought about it. Played it again. First video game I ever done since Halo that I played through the story. I just went, let's do it again.
Yeah.
And everything. And so since then, I became an unabashed Batman fan. You actually got me 3 comics.
Yeah.
A few years after Batman Arkham Knight came out.
Yeah.
No, it's like a year or 2 after Batman Arkham Knight came out.
Yeah.
And it got me into reading comics. First time I've ever read comics. I never read comics.
Yeah.
That was too far. That was too far. I can't read comics. That's too far, not anymore. I have a comic collection for Batman.
Yeah.
I plan on reading more here going forward, especially with this show.
Yeah.
We plan on talking about individual comic series,
Yeah.
Superman runs. I know you're a big Superman fan. I'm a big Batman fan. It's perfect that we're this way and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're a Superman fan when you are the spawn of Satan.
I've thought about that. Personality-wise, we should be reversed on
I
our
should
heroes.
absolutely be the Boy Scout, and you should absolutely be the vigilante.
I've thought about that multiple
the
times.
Dark Knight, for crying out loud. The Cape Crusader.
Yeah.
Superman.
Yeah.
That's just it. He's Superman. And
Oh,
yet I am such a Batman fan.
We'll get into
we will get
that
into it,
conversation.
absolutely. But, I mean, I have a Batman wall at home. My wife has gotten me a ton of stuff. I have
I got you a Batarang.
You got me the movie prop Batarang from Batman vs. Superman. Not the best movie, but the Batarang is fucking cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a replica. It's
It
not a prop.
Sorry, it's a
prop would
replica
mean, yeah,
of
it's like
yeah, right.
I would have had to have sold a kidney probably to get a prop.
Yeah, probably.
Especially with the fanatics for those movies that they.
Can I keep this? But yeah, so I'm a huge Batman fan. The Batman came out last year. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
With Mr. Pattinson.
Oh, Robert Pattinson was great for a young Batman.
And Colin Farrell.
It is not Colin Farrell. I've seen the video of them putting makeup on him, and I still don't believe that's Colin Farrell under there.
Take it easy, sweetheart.
You're looking for me?
I think he did the Mrs. Doubtfire test on that, from what I understand.
Oh, really?
Where, like, they got him in full costume, and then he went to, like, a Starbucks. Because that's what Mrs. Doubtfire, what they did when they were testing.
Oh, is it really?
When they were testing the Mrs. Doubtfire stuff to see, like, are people going to realize this is Robin Williams?
Yeah.
He went to, like, in public areas to see, like, how do people react?
The public test?
Yeah, does it pass? Like, do people think, oh, my God, that's just an old woman or whatever?
Yeah.
And I heard Colin Farrell did the same thing with the Penguin stuff.
Really?
Went to, like, Starbucks and went to, like, you know, a bagelry to get some bagels for, like, what, and just to these different places to see, like,
I didn't hear about that. That's awesome.
How is he seen or treated? Like, does anyone go, oh, my God, you're Colin Farrell?
Yeah.
But no. Didn't.
Right.
I mean, obviously it didn't happen. I still wonder if it is him or not.
X for doubt. That's my I doubt that one.
Okay, so before I go to mine, if you're done, I guess, on Batman.
I mean, I could talk about Batman for days, so you're going to have to cut me off, sir.
So mine, this one was tough. So I knew you would have called foul, but I almost just put Marvel Comics. Because growing up, another part with my dad was he grew up comic books. So I got a lot of secondhand stuff. One of my favorites was like Captain America. I read some Hulk and stuff. So whereas like, again, nowadays it's so different. I mean, you know, I remember as a kid, like I even see kids now where they'll have like a toy like Captain America shield. Dude, I've looked at kids. I'm like, dude, I would have fucking killed at your age to have that. Because
I'd murder and bury a body to have
because that wasn't a thing.
No.
I mean, in the 90s when we were kids, like,
and if it was, it cost $75.95 with shipping. And
no, it didn't exist.
Yeah,
so
true.
it just didn't. So, but I loved all that, and so like I just grew like, you know, a love of like a bunch of different Marvel stuff through the actual comic books.
Yeah.
So I thought about and not that I was trying to cheat and like take it all, but it's just like I legitimately did. There wasn't a singular thing that I fixated on necessarily. But what I ended up going with to fill in instead, and because I think it does encapsulate it, is
X-Men. Yeah,
X-Men, because, and like you said, the Batman animated series, because that was another one I thought about. I grew up with the Batman animated series. Actually, before the Batman animated series, I actually had some tapes of the Adam West Batman.
That was your introduction to Batman.
So that was my introduction to it. I dug it for sure. But then the animated series came out, and it was just like, holy shit. That was like must watch. Like, you know, once Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was done, it was about the time that Batman started. So it was like that became the next thing where it was like,
you know, that's probably
scheduled after school. You have to fucking watch that because it's
That's probably how I ended up coming to Batman. Is I was a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. I can still, my wife can attest to this, I can still sing the theme song.
Oh yeah, but who can't?
Dude, that's such a good theme
Again,
song.
out of the camera, I have a very large
shredder,
shredder from the original movie.
That's true.
I love Turtles. But yeah, no, Batman animated series is huge. But the X-Men series in '97.
Listen here, bub.
Oh my God, dude! Like it just because that was like I had read a couple X-Men comics that I inherited and stuff. And it was just like weird because like watching that, it was like shit I had seen on the page. I was seeing happen on the screen, but it was just played out, and it was just like blew my mind. To this day, my number one favorite comic book character, not villain, character, is Magneto.
He's a villain.
He's absolutely my favorite character. Like nobody tops him. I love Superman. I love Batman. I love, Captain America. I love Hulk. There's all these characters I love.
You're a fan of Spider-Man, too.
There's a lot I love. Yes, I read some Spider-Man, too. And, so, again, this is all way before, like, the Tobey Maguire movie, so it's just like, this was all very obscure shit. It just felt like a weird discovered thing that, like, oh, my dad gave me these comic books, and, like, nobody else around me knew this stuff. Everyone was talking about Turtles or Power Rangers or whatever, or Jurassic Park, like, and it was just this little thing I had, and so I really dug it. But the X-Men animated series was just absolutely incredible. Watched the hell out of it. I don't think I've seen it all because back in those days, like
there was no way.
Yeah, you watch it when it aired. If you missed it, like there is some syndication, but what are the chances that you watch on the right day in syndication? Because they didn't do them in order.
No, they would do season 4 episode 2, and then they would do season 1 episode 1.
Yeah,
the next week.
And we didn't know what seasons were either, right? Like that wasn't a thing.
That wasn't really a thing.
They existed obviously, but we didn't know as watchers of seasons and stuff until like usually closer to DVD when people started to understand like, oh, I need to buy the first season of this and whatever. And I think the consumer became more aware of that stuff with DVDs.
But even then, they didn't keep like traditional seasons, especially for cartoons. I'll challenge you. Go look at Batman the Animated Series and look at the seasons. You'll see like 40-something episodes in one of the volumes. They call them volumes, not seasons. Yeah. They have like 41 episodes in one of the volumes, and then they have like 12 in number 3 or 2 or something like that. It's just like, why is it so uneven and everything? Like I don't think that kids shows necessarily did like seasons, like X-Files. I know you're a fan of X-Files. Or MASH. You go watch season 1. This aired from this day to this day, and there was one per week and everything like that. I don't think kids shows necessarily had that down pat because they had such weird. There was times where they would just disappear off the show. I remember Saturday morning was X-Men. Came on at 10 o'clock, and a lot of times 10 o'clock was when my dad was like, okay, let's go do this, and I'm like, but X-Men, and he's like, it's just a cartoon, shut up, kind of thing.
Whereas Batman was after school.
Batman was like that 3:30 spot, you get home, you get yourself a snack, and you sit down and just like,
get your fruit by the foot and watch some Batman.
Dude.
And then you know what I remember, kid-wise, cold tangent, before school, Garfield and Friends.
Dude, I love Garfield and Friends.
that was the play there.
You know the one that I never watched that everyone rants and raves about in our generation is Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, I was never heavily into that.
I know. I don't remember it ever being on.
Yeah.
Like, when was it on? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure on that one. That was never I wasn't into it as much, but I watched it a little bit. I always
sit down with some Gushers and a Capri Sun.
I always liked that Claw guy. He always seemed like a good character there.
If you sense a theme, Tad gravitates towards the villains of the story.
Oh, I mean Star Wars, dude. That was the other thing I forgot to say about Star Wars, dude. The second Vader walked through that door, my God, man, my life was changed. I was like, that is the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Puts his hands on his hips and is like, yep, that's a dead guy.
Yeah, I mean, just
that's a dead guy.
Incredible. Star Trek Next Generation, the Borg, I love them. I love the Klingons.
He likes villains, guys.
I don't know if they're villains, especially Magneto's not a villain.
We're going to have a episode entirely dedicated to that debate.
They have shirts that have the Magneto helmet, and it says Magneto did nothing wrong, and I'm gonna get one of those because he's the man, and like my fandom for him goes back to that series, the X-Men animated series. And I guess I'm saying X-Men, but the animated series was the heart of it. But then obviously you get around the turn of the century and you get the movies come out. They're not the best, but they were fucking killer. I mean, the longest,
I thought the first 2 X-Men were amazing movies.
Yeah, but the second one especially. The second one I thought was
Nightcrawler's attack on the president.
That was
amazing.
that was the measuring stick for comic book movies until the MCU.
You had that in Spider-Man.
That one I put X-Men 2 over any of the Spider-Man.
Oh no, Spider-Man 2 was
X-Men,
phenomenal.
X-Men 2, 100%.
Dude, we need to. That's okay. I'm writing that down. We are going to have a conversation about X-Men versus Spider-Man in the early 2000s.
But yeah, no. So I love X-Men. Loved the comics. Love Magneto. Loved that animated series. And I think the animated series was a good. That was probably the more focal point of what I'm picking here. But overall, I love X-Men. I mean, I love the later movies. I love like First Class and Days of Future creatures past. I can't wait to see
Fassbender and
oh, dude, yeah,
James
and
Marsden.
No, James Marsden is Cyclops.
McAvoy.
Yeah, McAvoy. Yeah,
wrong James. Sorry.
Yeah, and dude, and how blessed am I to have Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender as the two actors portraying my favorite character.
Is
dude, both of them. I mean,
and Patrick Stewart is Xavier.
I'm batting 1,000 for my guys, dude.
Yeah.
Like just. I mean, Batman. You obviously have some. You've had some ups and downs, but me, I'm just like I've only had 2, but man, 2 for fucking 2, dude. Like, they've both been incredible.
Well, even the guy in the animated show, the '90s.
Oh yeah,
the
he was.
The cartoon
great.
was a phenomenal actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, people poo-poo voice acting, and I'm never going to be one of those people. I am a staunch supporter of voice acting because I'll tell you right now, find me someone who's who's better at conveying just how evil they are than how Mark Hamill did it with a fucking laugh.
Yeah. Now, here's a funny one about the actor you mentioned for Magneto.
Oh, yeah?
So when I was young, there was this weird thing that I would always do. For some reason, I thought each other was one word.
Okay.
It was just one of those stupid things that would stick in my head. And it was literally a Magneto talking to Xavier in the animated series. And he says, how could we trust them to treat us right? Look at how they treat each other. And the way he said it, he had like a pause in between there. And that's what made it stick in my head that it was like,
it's a separate
word. So
see, Magneto teaching the youth how to differentiate.
And it's a weird line read. Like the way it's read is just very strange, but like it was enough to, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like almost like the break was almost emphasized a bit. I always picture it like it was like the edge of the page and then you had to go down to the next word and there was that slight pause. Like, I don't know.
Look at how they treat each other.
Exactly.
Page turn.
Something. But yeah, I love X-Men. I mean, it's just such a cool.
Oh, it's great.
And then as you grow older and understand like the fact that when it was written back in the 60s, it was an analogy or a parable for the civil rights era.
Yep.
And then obviously the modern day with the movies that came out in the 2000s, they made it kind of a one about I guess queer identity, whatever you want to call it. Not necessarily gay is not the right word anymore.
Oh,
but like,
what's the?
Because it's not inclusive for everyone, but it's like
LGBTQ plus community.
They used it for that in that because that was more of the stress point where it's just like. But originally, Xavier was Martin Luther King and Magneto was Malcolm X. Like that's what those characters were based on. Those two real people.
We need to help them understand it. No, we're going to punch them in the face and make them understand.
Yeah, exactly. So just when you get older, you can dive into X-Men and realize like it's actually a very cool social. I don't know, like it's like one of those things where you hear about like you can learn a lot about a society by its arts. And it's one of those.
Yeah.
Like you can look at it, read those comic books, which I'm actually doing on like the Marvel Unlimited app, and it's just interesting where it's like, because everyone gets pissed if you get political, but if you cage it in a cartoon or science fiction, which happens a lot, then suddenly everyone loses it. They don't realize that you're talking about the civil rights era.
And then when you point it out, they're like, it's still a good story.
Yeah, exactly. So I do appreciate that as I've gotten older. I cannot wait to see them in the MCU. Can't wait to see my boy Magneto. Honestly, if they would have just made a movie that was Magneto hunting Nazis after the World War II, I would watch a 3-hour movie of that. Just him just massacre. Because there's that one scene in First Class where he finds that Nazi at that bar and he kills a few of them, actually. There's a few of them there. Love it. Just absolutely incredible. So... So that's my number 4 is X-Men. Just like I said, even though I could have picked other things, Marvel, that's the one.
Sure.
And like I said, I could have done double because I mean, Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I thought about. I had Superman on my list until it dawned on me a Simpsons thing went through my head, and I'm like, oh shit, Simpsons is on my list, and I'm just like, oh man, it's rough. This is a rough exercise, and I know I'm the one that defined it. But I kind of wish I would have said like 5 or something because
we could have done top 5, sir. But no, we did Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore is a good one though because it does cap you.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and transition our slide because I have a slide built up for once it shows up there on the.
It is off-centered.
Oh, that is weird. Doesn't show that on any of the screens.
Oh, interesting.
Sorry. Well, I guess it's not working for some reason. Let's see. Yeah, either way, I did
Aw,
a very I guess it's not gonna work, but that is weird. Yeah, I'll have to figure out why that's doing that.
Yeah, on your screen here, it looks just fine. Ted's got a TV here. That's what we're looking at here in the office, and it looks great.
Yeah.
There.
Well, you could at least see what I was going for at least.
Yeah, my Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
And you did the right bat symbol too. I love that bat symbol. The Michael Keaton, the yellow and black.
Yeah, that is the way to go, isn't it?
That's
Let me
good.
see if I can
It's a good one.
fit to screen. I think maybe that fixed it.
Let me see.
Let me transition it now. Sorry, I'm going on the fly here.
There we go.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on with this thing. Yeah, I'm learning still, but we're rolling with it here. Yeah, so I just built a little
There's my Mount Rushmore.
actual Mount Rushmore, as well as I did mine very similarly.
Yeah.
I have no talent in artistic things, so if there was like an actual Photoshop person, they probably could have like done like
Put Magneto on
Chewie
the
and
X-Men one.
for
and
you, Chewie, and
Mole Man and the Borg Queen and Darth Vader would have been your 4.
I don't know what I would have done. Maybe Q for Next Generation.
Oh, Q over the Borg Queen?
Q is awesome, dude.
Oh,
He's
okay.
just he's basically Loki. He's this
madness
this
and
god
chaos.
that he's this god that just loves to like
chaos,
fuck
yeah,
with people,
yeah. Which is your cup of tea.
but in a friendly kind of way. I don't think he was ever like vindictively out to like hurt people. So, but no, it sounds like we got some more discussions.
Oh, yeah.
But let's go ahead and get the old slides back over here as we talk about what is coming up next time.
Yeah.
So, as I already said earlier, we're going to be doing alternating back and forth. Odds are me, evens is Peter. Next time, we are going to be coming back on the 25th of February. Same time, same bat channel, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And we are doing the basically Ant-Man will have come out shortly
2 days before.
Wait, is that right?
That's the wrong day. Oh no, Ant-Man comes out the week before.
The week before, so there's a week between.
Yeah, week between. Sorry.
So Ant-Man comes out in a couple days. A fortnight from now, we'll be back talking about. We will be reacting, kind of what we thought of Ant-Man. But as part of that, also we're going to basically be looking at kind of the MCU Phase 5 and like based on what we saw with Ant-Man. Like what do we think's coming? Maybe we'll even talk a little bit about kind of what we thought of Phase 4 because that's very divided.
Yeah.
On that. But that is what we got coming up next time for that one. We're not always going to necessarily respond to everything, but we do kind of have on our calendar like marked what kind of big events there are, and we might have episodes that respond to them. So that's still going to be an introductory episode, but rather than learning more about us a little bit, you're going to kind of learn about how the show is going to function. Like, there's going to be times that we're going to just be responding to, oh my God,
this happened.
This big movie just came out. Let's talk about it a bit.
Especially you have to understand is that it wasn't on our Mount Rushmore because it's not, what built our geekery, but we are both very huge fans.
Yeah, we were
of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
23 by the time that came out.
Yeah.
MCU. So, but yeah, it's one of the biggest things in our current lives.
Yes.
Whereas this episode's been more about our foundational DNA.
Exactly. So understand that going forward, Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to be a big thing for us.
We are a little bit running not short on time, actually. We got a little bit of time.
Yeah, we got about 15 minutes.
And
Mike says, very informative backstories. Peter, how did your parents react to your budgeting friendship with Tad? They thought Tad was the devil. It almost came to the point where they almost restricted me from ever hanging out with him, but I worked with him, so what are they going to do? I also went to school with him.
Yeah.
We went to the same high school, so...
more of our time was spent at work or school than actually out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd have a couple hour hangouts here and there, but like...
But I have very distinct memories of my mom expressing concern over my friendship with Tad and everything like that, and... There is. I want to tell this one story because I love telling
when you
this
sold
story.
me out?
Oh, absolutely. That's the story I'm going to tell you, psychic. You know this. But yeah, absolutely. We happen to be in the early days of our friendship. We're over at my house and we're playing on my PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
It's before I even got an Xbox. We're playing the SmackDown wrestling game, and we're wrestling each other and we're playing and everything like that. And Tad's kicking my butt. He's a pro gamer. He's been playing video games almost his whole life. He's had Nintendos and everything like that.
The first one I ever had, stepdad had, was an Atari.
Yeah. So,
and then Atari and NES. I had both of those from the earliest age. So, yes, pretty much almost from the cradle, I had a paddle in my hand. So,
I'd been friends with Tad for a little bit at this point, and I had started swearing.
As if it was me.
As if it was Tad. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Tad, but it really started. Okay, I had sworn before Tad, but it was very rare.
Like trepidatious.
Tad introduced me to a whole new thing because Tad's mom is amazing. I call her Momage. She is my second mother. I see her. I hug her. You know, she's on social media with me and everything like that. She's my second mom. Like first one I had and everything like that. And she swore. His dad swore. He swore.
I learned.
We watched shows that had swearing.
Yeah.
You know, and all this stuff and everything like that. And so we're wrestling, and Tad throws my guy out of the ring and eliminates me. And damn it, Peter. Go into the other room. My mom's like, "Hey, I'm hearing some foul language out there. I don't think the Lord likes hearing this foul language in this house." And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I'll let Tad know that he shouldn't be swearing." Went back out there, and I bit my lip the rest of the time.
And I know how to censor myself.
Oh yeah, Tad knows. Tad knows. We grew up in Utah. Everyone knows Utah's a very religious state and everything like that. Tad knew where to censor himself and stuff. Never once. I told my mom that story last year.
I made you.
You did.
I was shaming you on like social media or something. Where it was like,
and so I told her, and she's like, "I remember that. It really was you." And I was like, "Yeah, it was me." And she's like, "I have to change my opinion on this on this Tad fellow."
20 years later.
Yeah, 20 years later, she's finally like going to give you a fair shake and everything. But they never restricted me. They never said I couldn't hang out with them. They were concerned and everything like that. And obviously, here we are.
Yeah.
Tad's still my best friend, and we still hang out all the time and everything. So,
I mean,
they weren't happy with it though.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. And honestly, it wasn't just a damn it. You threw out some while we were playing.
Oh, I
there.
swore multiple times. It wasn't just one.
Yeah, there was.
No, I swore multiple times. And
and when she called you in,
she called me in, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll let them know." I'm not
when
swearing.
You're talking about being raised in Utah. It reminded me of the line in Orgasmo. It was like a repeated line because Trey Parker plays a missionary.
Yeah,
and he
LDS missionary, Mormon missionary.
Yeah, Mormon missionary
here in Utah.
And like, there's multiple times where people are like, "What the hell? Are you born under a rock?" No, I'm from Utah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Everybody reacts the same way, and it's so true.
It is. I was so sheltered. I've had to ask Tad and my wife and questions. And like, I asked you one yesterday when we were on our little mini trip that we went on, and I'm like, "Hey, this one thing that happened in old school wrestling, like, was that a reference to something that I just didn't understand?" He's like, no, that's just what they could get away with on TV. And I was like, "Oh, I thought it was like a reference to something that I didn't understand." Nope. That's how naive I was and am. There's times where my wife's like, "Oh, you poor thing." You know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so next time we'll be back in a fortnight talking MCU as well as kind of through the paradigm of Quantumania that will have been out a week by that point. And yeah, we're going to be here every other week, same as Dark Tower Palaver. We mentioned on the Dark Tower Palaver, at some point we may invert them.
The time of the episode.
And do this one first and that one second, just to kind of make it as approachable to everyone as we can. Mm-hmm. But for the interim, probably in the first month or so, we'll probably keep it to where it is now. We'll be here at this time, right after Dark Tower Palaver, about a 15-minute break between. But yeah, we've got a bunch of topics picked out, and this is gonna be a fun show for sure. This one is obviously more introductory,
and there's so much too that we haven't got to yet. Like Tad's introducing me to horror and everything like that. Like we've done crazy stuff together and everything, and we we scratched the surface, like
Oh, yeah.
barely the first layer of paint's off. We're like,
Oh,
we
yeah.
got so much more to get into here.
We do.
With this friendship and just how much of a geeks we are.
Yeah, indeed. And that, yeah, it's, and again, never a derogatory term here. Geekery and nerdery is a wonderful thing. I always say, let your nerd and geek flags fly high.
Heck yeah.
Because, yeah, why not? I mean, like I said, I got bullied by some kids because, oh, you like Star Wars? Like, what the hell? You know, like,
what's wrong
my
with you?
My parents like that and stuff. So, and then obviously comic books and other stuff. But I've just never cared. Like, it's amazing stuff. I love it.
And it wasn't until I met Tad that I realized that I didn't have to hide that I liked that stuff. I always just hid it, and everything. But meeting Tad and opening my eyes that I don't care.
And then now the whole culture's flipped. And now
now we're in the mainstream. It's like
it's like, this is weird. But yeah, no, that puts us pretty close to time anyway. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, come back in a couple weeks. We'll be talking about that. I'll try to get a website set up. I don't know. I don't remember how long that took me on Dark Tower Palaver. I haven't built a website in a long time, so I'll try to figure that out, though, to kind of be the hub of all things. But yeah, we're on all the social media. Find us on Facebook, Twitter. I will make sure to have links to this show from Dark Tower, so if you're following us there, I'll actually have it on to especially here early on, as not everyone has found this show yet. Subscribe. This is literally the first episode. Oh, that's the other thing, I guess. Podcast wise, people, I guess you wouldn't know, but this is going to be potentially late because you can't submit like a huge change to a podcast till you have an episode to be with it. So I actually haven't been able to like fully solidify the podcast side. But yeah, I guess if you're listening to this on the podcast side, you know how long that delay was.
Yeah.
But we're same as everything that we've been doing on the other show. We got a podcast, we got the YouTube here, and yeah, we're excited for the future. And yeah, horror movies are coming down the pike.
Oh, they are definitely going to be one that we talk about.
And not just in October.
Yeah.
That is not a thing. So yeah, I don't know how we're going to sign off. That's I guess
go ahead and play those 2 sound bites that you had for us, there.
Oh yeah, I did throw this cuz shirts and all.
Who are you?
A friend.
We're going to definitely get into Superman and Batman at some point. But yeah, then
I am the Knight. I am Batman.
Getting all psyched
Dude,
over there.
I got chills, man. I love Kevin Conroy.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna have some sound bites. Peter already took multiple notes during this episode.
Oh yeah.
So not that we're gonna be like a freaking morning zoo talk show with like sound effects, but we do love sound bites, and I don't know. We might have a little bit more than you're used to if you're coming from the other show, Dark Tower Palaver. So, but yeah, we'll sign off.
There's
I don't know.
a lot of more availability for sound bites than
that. Yeah, exactly.
The other shows,
it's not just audiobook sound.
Yeah,
bites.
audiobooks. Yeah,
which we can actually get tagged for. I feel
we have before.
Yeah, we have indeed. So yeah, I don't know how to sign off necessarily, but we'll learn that as we go.
Thanks so much for coming out to Geekery Abides. I hope your geekery need was satisfied, and
yeah,
we will see you.
And remember,
next time.
emails.
Yes, email.
Tad, TADD, at geekeryabides.com, or Peter, spelled like you would normally spell it, at geekeryabides.com. Send us emails if there's stuff that you want to ask us, if you guys want, submit topics even.
Yeah, top 10 list requests, top 5s.
We love lists.
Yes, that's going to be something that we do here.
Debates
are going to be something that we
didn't
do.
give a warning either.
Dude,
how did we forget that?
We're going to have to do this at the top of the next episode, too. But at the end of this episode, we have to explain. We can get heated where it looks like we're about to beat the living shit out of each other.
Yeah, I've had that mistake many times.
We have never once come to blows in our 20-plus years. It's never even come close.
We just get very passionate in our conversating.
We are very passionate argumenters. We're gesturing. We're loud and everything like that. But it is never to the point where we're mad at each other.
Yeah, it's not like we gave
not
that
anger.
We gave that warning on Dark Tower Palaver that we never really had a lot, but this one
we had one with the Flag Summit. That's the only one that ever came really
even
close.
Then I thought it was pretty cordial, but this one I guarantee you there's going to be some debates, some lively debates. So
there will be debates.
So we'll have to warn you guys that on the top of the next episode in case anyone stopped listening, because that'll be a warning that we should give out. But we will see you guys in a couple weeks as we go on the 25th So a fortnight from now, because I do love the word fortnight, in one fortnight we'll be back for episode 2, covering Quantumania and the MCU Phase 5. See you guys.
This is Geekery Abides signing off.